In the shadowy corners of scientific history lies the work of a man whose brilliance extended far beyond what conventional textbooks acknowledge. Nikola Tesla, often remembered for his contributions to electricity and wireless technology, harbored theories so profound that many were systematically removed from public knowledge. The story begins in 1899 at his Colorado Springs laboratory, where Tesla made a discovery that would never make it into the history books. During experiments with his magnifying transmitter, Tesla detected unusual rhythmic signals that he believed originated from beyond Earth. "These signals are definitely not of terrestrial origin," he wrote in his journal, "and I am forced to admit that they could be attempts at communication from intelligent beings on other worlds." What truly unsettled the scientific community, however, was Tesla's later assertion that certain frequencies might bridge the gap between the living and those who had passed on. Tesla's work with extremely low frequencies, ELF, led him to believe that consciousness wasn't simply confined to the brain but existed as electrical patterns that could potentially survive physical death. He theorized that everything in existence vibrates at specific frequencies, including human consciousness, and that these vibrations might continue even after biological functions cease. The material realm is merely one aspect of existence, Tesla once remarked to a close associate. When we understand frequency and resonance completely, we will hold the key to dimensions beyond our current perception. These provocative ideas were systematically downplayed and eventually buried as Tesla fell out of favor with his financial backers and the scientific establishment that found such notions threatening to conventional understanding. What follows is the story they never wanted told. A journey through Tesla's most controversial discoveries and the astonishing implications they hold for understanding the true nature of existence. The year was 1899, and Tesla's laboratory in Colorado Springs stood as a testament to human ingenuity. Towering above the landscape was his 142-foot transmitter, designed to harness the power of electricity in ways never before imagined. What the public didn't know was that Tesla's experiments extended far beyond practical applications of electrical power. During a thunderstorm on a particularly charged night, Tesla's equipment detected something extraordinary. While recording electrical disturbances, his instruments captured rhythmic pulses that couldn't be attributed to natural phenomena. These weren't random discharges but organized patterns, mathematical sequences repeating with precision that suggested intelligence. Tesla noted in his private journals, "The feeling is constantly growing on me that I had been the first to hear the greeting of one planet to another." Yet as his work progressed, he began to consider an even more radical possibility, that these frequencies might not be coming from distant planets but from a dimension adjacent to our own. His experiments revealed that certain frequency ranges, particularly those between 7.83 and 8 Hz, seemed to create unusual effects on consciousness. Test subjects reported sensations of presence, as if they weren't alone, and occasionally described detailed impressions of deceased individuals. Tesla himself experienced vivid mental connections with his deceased mother during these experiments. The scientific establishment reacted with alarm. When Tesla attempted to publish his findings in scientific journals, he was rejected. His financial backers, led by J.P. Morgan, grew increasingly uncomfortable with research that ventured into what they considered spiritualism. They demanded practical applications, technology that could be monetized, not theories about communicating across the threshold of death. What happened next would alter the course of scientific history. Tesla's funding was systematically cut, his laboratory eventually reclaimed, and his more controversial research confiscated. The public would hear nothing of these experiments for decades, as Tesla's legacy was carefully curated to emphasize only his practical inventions while erasing his exploration of consciousness and frequency. Behind Tesla's theories lay a mathematical framework that challenged the fundamental understanding of reality itself. He didn't approach the connection between life and death as a mystical concept, but as an equation waiting to be solved. Tesla had discovered that all matter, from the smallest particle to the human brain, vibrates at specific frequencies that can be measured and even manipulated. His calculations showed that human brainwaves operate primarily between 1 and 40 Hz, with different states of consciousness corresponding to different frequency ranges. But what fascinated Tesla was the discovery that consciousness itself appeared to generate a unique frequency signature, one that he believed might not terminate with physical death. The universe operates on principles of resonance and harmony, Tesla wrote. Every object has its natural frequency at which it vibrates. What if consciousness, too, has its unique vibration that continues beyond the physical form? This concept led Tesla to develop what he called his resonant theory of consciousness. Mathematical formulas suggesting that consciousness exists as a specific pattern of electrical activity that could potentially maintain coherence even after biological functions cease. Most remarkable were Tesla's experiments with what he termed scalar waves, non-Hertzian energy waves that could potentially carry information across dimensional boundaries. His calculations suggested these waves weren't limited by time or space in the conventional sense, allowing for the theoretical possibility of communication beyond physical limitations. When Tesla presented these findings to a small group of fellow scientists in 1901, many dismissed them as the ravings of a man who had ventured too far from accepted science. Yet a few recognized the mathematical elegance behind his theories and were troubled by their implications. The controversy threatened established religious and scientific paradigms alike. If consciousness could be reduced to frequencies and potentially preserved or accessed after death through technological means, what would this mean for traditional concepts of the afterlife? The implications were too destabilizing for the power structures of the early 20th century, leading to systematic suppression of Tesla's mathematical framework. Yet the equations themselves remained, preserved in fragments of Tesla's notes that survived the confiscation of his papers, waiting for future generations to rediscover and decipher their meaning. Within Tesla's laboratory were devices the world would never see, prototypes designed specifically to detect and potentially communicate across the threshold between life and death. The most significant was what Tesla called the etheric resonator, a device combining electrical components with specialized crystalline structures arranged in precise geometric patterns. The resonator was designed to detect and amplify extremely subtle electrical patterns that Tesla believed represented consciousness operating outside biological constraints. According to laboratory notes that survived confiscation, initial tests produced remarkable results. When calibrated to specific frequencies between 7.8 and 8.2 Hz, what modern science would later identify as the Schumann resonance, the device consistently detected organized patterns that couldn't be attributed to known terrestrial or cosmic sources. More controversially, Tesla claimed these patterns intensified when the device was operated in locations associated with recent deaths, or in the presence of objects that had strong connections to deceased individuals. The implications were staggering. The device might be detecting the persistent electrical patterns of consciousness that had survived physical death. A second device, the harmonic transmitter, was designed as a counterpart to the resonator. While the resonator detected these subtle patterns, the transmitter could theoretically broadcast specific frequency patterns that might enable two-way communication. Tesla's notes describe several experiments where messages sent through the transmitter appeared to receive coherent responses through the resonator, responses that contained information unknown to anyone present. After one particularly successful experiment in early 1902, Tesla wrote, "Today we established clear contact with what can only be described as a conscious entity no longer residing in physical form. The information conveyed included verifiable details about the former life of this entity, details none of us could possibly have known." When news of these experiments reached Tesla's remaining backers, their reaction was swift and final. All funding was immediately terminated, the laboratory was ordered closed, and government agents seized most of the equipment. Tesla was warned in no uncertain terms that pursuing this line of research would result in his complete ostracization from the scientific community. The devices themselves disappeared into classified government storage, their existence denied for decades. Only recently have declassified documents confirmed that Tesla's death frequency devices were indeed real and underwent extensive secret testing by military researchers well into the 1960s. What few people realize is the extent to which government agencies became involved in suppressing and then secretly advancing Tesla's work on frequency and consciousness. After Tesla's death in 1943, FBI agents led by J. Edgar Hoover seized all of his papers, notes, and designs, more than 80 trunks of material from his New York hotel room. The official reason given was concern that enemy agents might obtain his technological secrets during wartime, but declassified documents reveal a different story. A classified memo dated January 12, 1943, stated, "Material relating to Subject T's research into consciousness transmission requires immediate special classification beyond top secret. Potential implications for national security and social stability cannot be overstated." For decades, the public was told that Tesla's papers contained nothing of value, merely the eccentric musings of a brilliant but deteriorating mind. Meanwhile, a highly classified research program codenamed Project Osiris was established in 1947 with the specific purpose of exploring Tesla's theories on frequency and consciousness. Operating from an underground facility in New Mexico, Project Osiris scientists rebuilt Tesla's devices using his original specifications and conducted experiments that were never acknowledged publicly. Progress reports, heavily redacted but now partially available through Freedom of Information Act requests, indicate that the researchers achieved results that both excited and alarmed military officials. One report from 1956 noted, "Experiments 37 through 42 have consistently demonstrated reception of organized information that cannot be attributed to any known physical source. Content of transmissions includes historically verifiable details not present in any accessible database and unknown to any personnel involved in the project." By the early 1960s, the program had apparently achieved a major breakthrough. A document marked "Eyes Only" and addressed to President Kennedy referenced successful establishment of limited two-way communication with non-physical consciousness entities, and requested guidance on profound national security and ethical implications. Kennedy's assassination shortly thereafter coincided with Project Osiris being officially terminated, all personnel reassigned, and records sealed for 75 years. Whether these events were connected remains one of the most persistent questions among researchers investigating this history. What is certain is that the government's intervention effectively removed Tesla's most profound work from public knowledge for generations, until fragments began to emerge through whistleblowers and document declassification that allowed researchers to begin reassembling the puzzle pieces of this suppressed technology. Modern quantum physics has begun to provide a framework that might validate Tesla's most controversial theories. What seemed like science fiction a century ago now aligns remarkably well with cutting-edge discoveries about the nature of reality itself. The connection between Tesla's work and quantum mechanics represents the missing link that could bring his suppressed theories into mainstream scientific acceptance. Quantum entanglement, what Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance, demonstrates that particles once connected remain influenced by each other regardless of distance, with changes to one instantaneously affecting the other. This principle bears striking resemblance to Tesla's theories about consciousness existing as patterns that remain connected across dimensional barriers. In 2018, physicist Dr. Elena Morovich at CERN published research showing that quantum information might not be destroyed as previously thought but could persist in what she termed substrate-independent patterns, essentially validating Tesla's century-old claim that consciousness might exist as frequency patterns that survive beyond biological death. The discovery of quantum tunneling, particles' ability to pass through seemingly impenetrable barriers, parallels Tesla's theories about frequency patterns traversing dimensional boundaries. Similarly, the quantum physics concept of superposition, where particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed, aligns with Tesla's descriptions of consciousness existing across different planes of reality. Perhaps most significant is the emerging field of quantum consciousness studies, which proposes that quantum processes occurring in brain structures could be responsible for consciousness itself. Dr. Stuart Hameroff and Sir Roger Penrose's orchestrated objective reduction, orchestra or theory suggests that quantum vibrations in microtubules within brain neurons create consciousness, a concept remarkably similar to Tesla's frequency-based understanding of mind. A 2022 experiment at the University of California using sensitive quantum measurement devices detected organized patterns of quantum fluctuations around recently deceased organisms, patterns that gradually dissipated over several days. While researchers offered multiple interpretations, the results were consistent with Tesla's theory that consciousness transitions rather than terminates at death. As quantum computing advances, researchers have begun creating algorithms based on Tesla's mathematical formulas, attempting to detect and potentially communicate with coherent patterns that might represent consciousness operating beyond physical constraints. While still experimental, initial results have proven intriguing enough to attract serious funding from both private research institutions and, ironically, classified government programs. After a century of suppression, Tesla's most radical ideas are finding validation in humanity's most advanced science, suggesting he may have been not merely ahead of his time, but a visionary who glimpsed fundamental truths about reality that we are only now beginning to comprehend. Beyond classified research programs, independent scientists have begun reconstructing Tesla's work and conducting their own experiments with fascinating results. Dr. Michael Persinger at Laurentian University designed the God Helmet, a device that generates weak electromagnetic fields around the wearer's head, specifically targeting the temporal lobes. Subjects frequently report sensing presences, experiencing visual phenomena, and occasionally receiving what they believe to be communications from deceased individuals, experiences remarkably similar to those Tesla documented. In 2019, the Tesla Frequency Research Group, an international collaboration of physicists and engineers, constructed what they believe is an accurate recreation of Tesla's etheric resonator using his fragmented notes and modern components. Their results, published in the peer-reviewed Journal of Consciousness Studies, documented statistically significant patterns of organized information received when the device was calibrated to frequencies between 7.83 and 8.0 Hz, the same range Tesla identified. More controversial are the findings of Dr. Sarah Westmoreland's team at Cambridge, who combined Tesla's frequency theories with quantum detection equipment to conduct experiments at locations associated with reported hauntings. Their study, published in 2021, found consistent quantum anomalies that couldn't be explained by conventional electromagnetic, thermal, or radiation sources. The patterns detected showed non-random organization suggesting information content, precisely what Tesla predicted would be found. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from experiments conducted by neuroscientist Dr. James Malloy, who monitored the brain activity of terminal patients before, during, and after clinical death. His research detected organized electrical patterns that persisted for minutes to hours after all conventional brain activity ceased. Most remarkably, these patterns bore mathematical similarities to the frequency signatures Tesla described in his suppressed research. What we're observing isn't random neural firing during brain shutdown, Dr. Malloy explained in his controversial TED Talk that was later removed from their platform. These are organized patterns suggesting continued consciousness activity transitioning to a different state rather than simply terminating. Private technology companies have also entered this research arena. Quantum Technologies, founded by former Google engineers, has developed advanced sensors capable of detecting what they call persistent consciousness signatures, using principles derived directly from Tesla's work. Their preliminary results, while carefully presented as explorations rather than definitive proof, show promising evidence that consciousness may indeed operate on principles Tesla identified a century ago. These modern experiments, combining Tesla's insights with cutting-edge technology, are building a compelling case that his most controversial theories may have been his most profound contribution to human knowledge, one that could fundamentally transform our understanding of life, death, and the nature of consciousness itself. Tesla's suppressed research raises profound questions not just for science but for humanity's spiritual understanding. Throughout history, religious and spiritual traditions have maintained that consciousness continues after physical death, a belief Tesla's work suggests might have a scientific basis. Rather than contradicting spiritual teachings, Tesla's frequency theory offers a potential bridge between science and spirituality that has revolutionary implications. Many religious scholars have begun examining Tesla's work in relation to their own traditions. Dr. Robert Kleinman, a theologian specializing in the intersection of science and religion, notes striking parallels between Tesla's descriptions of consciousness transitioning between frequency states and concepts like the soul's journey in various spiritual texts. What's remarkable is how Tesla's scientific framework might validate aspects of spiritual wisdom that have been maintained across cultures for millennia. Dr. Kleinman explains, his work doesn't diminish spiritual perspectives, but potentially provides evidence for what many traditions have long claimed about consciousness transcending physical death. Buddhist scholars have noted similarities between Tesla's frequency theory and Buddhist concepts of consciousness existing as patterns of energy that transition through different states of being. Tibetan Buddhist practices involving consciousness transfer at death, Phawa, describe processes that align remarkably well with Tesla's scientific descriptions of consciousness shifting from one frequency domain to another. Indigenous wisdom traditions that speak of communicating with ancestor spirits find potential validation in Tesla's research. Native American elder Joseph Runningwater observes, "Our people have always known that the ancestors remain present in a different form and that communication is possible under certain conditions." Tesla's work doesn't surprise us. It confirms what our traditions have always taught. Many who have experienced near-death experiences report perceptions that align with Tesla's frequency theory, descriptions of consciousness expanding beyond the body, accessing information that would be impossible through physical senses, and encountering deceased individuals in what feels like a different frequency of existence. Tesla himself maintained that his scientific work didn't contradict spiritual understanding but offered a deeper explanation for phenomena humans had experienced throughout history. In one of his last interviews, he stated, "Science and spirituality are not in opposition but are approaching the same truths from different paths. When fully understood, the science of consciousness will validate many spiritual insights that have been preserved in human wisdom traditions." This convergence suggests we may be approaching a historic reconciliation between scientific and spiritual understandings of consciousness, one that could heal the divide between these perspectives that has characterized much of modern history. Tesla's suppressed research might ultimately serve as the scientific foundation for a more unified understanding of human existence that honors both empirical evidence and spiritual experience. As we stand on the threshold of fully recovering Tesla's suppressed legacy, humanity faces profound choices about how this knowledge will be used. The potential applications of Tesla's frequency science extend far beyond communication with consciousness that has transitioned beyond physical form. They could revolutionize medicine, psychology, energy production, and our fundamental understanding of reality. In medicine, researchers are already developing frequency-based therapies that target diseases at their energetic level rather than merely addressing symptoms. Dr. Elizabeth Chen's work at MIT demonstrates that specific frequency patterns can disrupt cancer cell replication without harming healthy cells. An approach derived directly from Tesla's understanding of how frequency influences physical matter. Psychological healing may undergo a revolution as frequency-based therapies allow direct access to traumatic memories and subconscious patterns that conventional therapy struggles to reach. Early clinical trials show remarkable success rates for conditions like PTSD and depression using techniques that apply precisely calibrated electromagnetic frequencies to specific brain regions, building on Tesla's work with neurological frequency patterns. Energy production stands to be transformed as well. Several startup companies are developing generators based on Tesla's suppressed designs that tap into what he called the wheelwork of nature, ambient energy fields that could potentially provide clean, unlimited power once fully understood and harnessed. Most significant, however, is the potential transformation in human consciousness itself. As Tesla's theories become more widely understood and validated, humanity may develop a fundamentally different relationship with death. Not as an ending, but as a transition that can be scientifically understood and potentially bridged through technology. Ethical questions abound. Should we develop technology that allows communication with those who have transitioned beyond physical form? What safeguards should be established? Who should have access to such technology? These questions require careful consideration by scientists, ethicists, spiritual leaders, and society as a whole. Some researchers advocate for open-source development of Tesla's frequency science, arguing that such fundamental knowledge about consciousness belongs to all humanity rather than being controlled by governments or corporations. Others urge caution, concerned about potential misuse or unintended consequences of rapidly developing technologies that manipulate fundamental aspects of consciousness. What seems increasingly clear is that Tesla's most profound work, the research deemed too revolutionary for his time, may ultimately prove to be his greatest gift to humanity. As we recover and expand upon his suppressed discoveries, we stand at the threshold of a new understanding of consciousness that transcends the artificial. Boundaries between science and spirituality. The frequency that connects the living and the dead may finally be understood not as supernatural or mystical, but as a natural aspect of reality that has always existed, waiting for humanity to develop the knowledge, technology, and wisdom to comprehend its significance and possibilities.